Howdy, and welcome back to another Workshop Wednesday. This week's edition is Beyond Basics, which means it's going to be a little bit more for those of you who have some experience in some aspects of measurement. And we're going to be talking about how to adjust the Eyes on the Journey report in Google Data Studio. Remember, if you don't know what an Eyes on the Journey report is, that's okay, because Julie, our guest instructor, is actually going to give you a quick recap on what that is and why we have created it, so you can ultimately create your own. Before we get too far into this, of course, welcome. My name is Chris Mercer. I do go by Mercer. Everybody calls me Mercer. You should as well. I am the co-founder of a company called measurementmarketing.io. And whether you found us through some of the podcasts and talks that we're constantly out there giving, or maybe through some of the courses where we share some of our content with platforms like CXL Institute, Social Media Examiner, Digital Marketer, or Measure Summit, maybe you are already a member over at measurementmarketing.io, whether a free toolbox member or a academy member. However you found us, we are happy that you're here. It's our job to help people like you learn how to use all these cool tools. And today you will dive definitely a deep dive into some of the more advanced features of Google Data Studio. So you're going to see those in action. Of course, how we actually teach this stuff is the Measurement Marketing Academy. We will go through a tour of this for those that might be interested to kind of see what that is back there. We'll do that at the end of this particular workshop. Of course, your job right now is to focus on one thing. That is one new idea, one new technique, one new thing that you go, oh, I didn't realize you could do that with Data Studio. Or maybe just the Eyes on the Journey report itself. When you see that and you understand kind of the power behind that particular report, you start going, wow, I didn't know you could do this with measurement. And it kind of, this could be a bunch of one new things that are here for you. So remember, just grab one, practice that skill. Then you come back, rewatch this workshop. You'll pick up another new one thing because you'll have more measurement muscle when you watch this again. And that's how we improve our skills without getting overwhelmed and frustrated. All right, let's go ahead and get officially underway. Beyond Basics, adjusting your Eyes on the Journey report in Google Data Studio. Now remember, you do not have to have an Eyes on the Journey report already to make this particular workshop worthwhile, because the skills that are covered in here can apply to some of your other reports you might use in Google Data Studio. But of course, we're going to give you a quick rundown of the Eyes on the Journey report, and we do recommend that you use it because it is absolutely amazing. Now, of course, to dive right in, we're going to start with everything, the framework. We're going to start with the framework because that's where it all rotates around. You plan your measurement, you build your measurement, you launch your measurement. So to avoid this concept of marketing in the blind and to try to get to a point where we are just following steps that will reliably produce revenue and profits, right? So that the revenue is just a symptom of us doing measurement properly. That's what we're trying to do here. That's how we do the plan, build, and launch methodology. So in planning, we think about the questions we're trying to answer, which the Eyes on the Journey, you will see that in action. We absolutely collect the information we need to get those answers. And you will hear Julie, our guest instructor, talk about this. We have already planned out what actions we're going to take based upon the answers that we get to the questions that we're asking. So that is our plan. Once we have our plan in place, we do our build, where we make sure our results are being measured by our platforms. Then we make sure the traffic is being measured. Then we make sure it is what we call a setup, so that it tells a story, so that we've got traffic tied to results. So at this point, we will definitely know what's working and what's not. Now, once we have that in place, we actually start to use the measurement implementation that we have built. That's the launch. So we're going to listen to the conversation that's happening between the users and the website to make sure it's the conversation that we want to have, to see if the conversation is maybe going south at any particular point, so we can adjust our marketing to keep the conversation going the direction we want it to go. Once we have our benchmarks down of sort of how things are working, then we can start to forecast. This is the most important thing in measurement. You eventually need to get here. It's not optional. Measurement should be telling you what's coming next, not just what's working and what's not. So we learn to forecast, and we forecast out what the results are going to be. You can see that we absolutely do this. Our Eyes on the Journey report, you will see the forecast for how that's supposed to operate. And then we measure against our forecast. That's how we know what to optimize, where to basically invest our time, effort, energy, and resources into the specific part that's going to give us the most bang for the buck, that's going to help us to move the needle, to adjust the conversation, to fix the conversation, to improve the conversation that's happening between the users and the website, so we're more able to get the results that we're trying to get. That's the measurement marketing framework, and now the whole thing ties together. The Eyes on the Journey report touches so much of this, and you will see that in this workshop. So the Eyes on the Journey report touches each and every aspect of the measurement marketing framework. Now, we are, of course, going to introduce Julie Brade, our guest instructor. Many of you are already familiar with Julie, especially if you're an Academy member, because she's back there answering a ton of questions in our Ask Instructor support system. She's also the one that handles most of our private guided training clients. She manages the accounts for our dedicated measurement management clients, where sometimes we work with our certified measurement marketers to help out with that stuff. And she's an absolute data studio rock star. She runs our measurement team here at measurementmarketing.io. And she's the person that I go to when I'm trying to figure out answers to questions. I go to her. She will build the reports. So she is intimately familiar with how to do this, the questions that you're going to be asking, the questions that maybe your bosses or your clients are asking you. She gets it. She gets it. She lists this stuff every single day. And the Eyes on the Journey report is like her specialty. She is so good at that. Just absolutely amazing. So I figured, hey, let's go ahead and bring in Julie. So Julie was like, I can show how to do this with IOJ. I'm like, perfect. Let's do that. So without further ado, Julie Brade, we're going to go ahead and bring you on. I'll let you share screens and take it away.
All right, before we jump in and start editing this Eyes on the Journey demo template, we're going to take a quick look at Eyes on the Journey just for any of you that may not be as familiar with it and what it's supposed to do. So we created Eyes on the Journey so we could kind of have a deep dive into a very specific step in our funnel. So our funnel is the offer page, a cart page, and then a thank you page. And we wanted to understand why our offer page wasn't working the way we expected it to. And then so we created Eyes on Journey to be able to measure certain steps on our particular offer page so that we can see how the user journey is or is not working. And then we can also see it by different sources and mediums and different device categories. So we know if desktop's working versus mobile. And this has been a phenomenally well received with a lot of our other measurement marketers, a lot of our members. And so what we did, because they kept asking us, how do we do this? How do we create it for our own? How do we do it for a blog? How do we do it for an e-com site? How do we do it for, this particular type of funnel? So we've had a lot of practice with adjusting this and making this work for a lot of different things. And so we actually created a tool for our Academy members. So for those of you that are Toolbox members, you aren't going to see this, but those of you that are Academy members, you absolutely will. So if you're in your toolbox here, then you go to your Get It Done guides. You'll see this screen. So we also have one for iframe measurement, but this one is all about Eyes on the Journey. And so what this is, high level overview, this is basically step by step of what you're going to do. You get a tag manager template that shows you how all of this works, and it's basically kind of a plug and play. This demo report in Data Studio is using all of this that you are implementing, and these steps are going to show, these little videos here are showing you how all of that works together. This is just like a walkthrough guide for that. Two other workshops that you have access to as Academy members is on your on-demand workshops. You can go to this particular one using Eyes on a Journey. It's basically all of the strategy. So if you're not as familiar, you want a deeper dive, go watch this one first, and then you can go through the Get It Done guide and get everything implemented. Then, as you start learning more and more of the strategy and kind of thinking you want to adjust your Eyes on the Journey different from what we've set up here in this container, you can watch another workshop here that you have in your on-demand workshops. It's customizing the Eyes on the Journey in Google Tag Manager. That way you can make sure that it is measuring exactly what you want to measure, and you can change it from client to client or funnel to funnel, however it is that you want to measure. And today what we're learning about is how to customize the dashboard that's part of the Eyes on the Journey Get It Done guide. So here is what you kind of end up with and when you first get started, and it was built for agencies, and that's the reason we have this up here, is so you can click from one Google Analytics view to another, so you can basically go from one client to another or one funnel to another and really be able to understand how overall your clients are doing. However, a lot of requests that we see come through is people want to know how do they make it their own for one client only so they can share it with their client, because most of the time when they see this stuff, they are just blown away that their measurement marketer went above and beyond, and they have data to back up their decisions of like, hey, it's the headline that's off, or people aren't clicking on the offer. They're seeing the offer, but they're not clicking on the offer. So it must be some sort of, we need to frame the offer better. And they have the data to back them up. So whenever you get into your Eyes on the Journey, Get It Done guide, you would probably already have done this next step. And that is, while we're incognito in a demo account, you would probably have already copied this, but we're going to do that real quick because I want to show you something too. Because I'm in the demo account, I don't have access to the data source that was originally used to make this. You don't either, and that's okay. We don't need that. What you would do is just choose the view that has your Eyes on the Journey data in it. So I'm choosing this one right there just because I know that one happens to have Eyes on the Journey data in it. And then we'll copy it and then let it do its thinking thing. All right, this is also something you see in the step-by-step videos that is just basically asking for permission for a community visualization. And so we just allow, grant permissions, and that's all it's asking to do is we now have this because it's grabbing from that view that I selected. So how do we get rid of all of this and make it our own? So we can click on Edit, and we can select this and we can remove it. And now I don't have that agency feature of being able to switch from one Google Analytics view to another. So what do we see when we click on our source now? So when we click on our source, the data source that we have is the one that we selected. So what if we want to have a different data source and maybe we have a different client and we want to duplicate this for a different client? Well, we're going to copy this again. So make a copy. So it's going to show copy of, and we're going to do the exact same thing, but this time we would be able to choose a different view that would have the data in it. Right now I'm in a demo account and none of these are going to have the data. But this one actually here is part of the Google demo store, their merchandise demo store. So if I chose this one, my expectation is the dashboard would be blank until the data were to flow through. So we're just going to take a look at what that would look like in case you might encounter the same thing. And so we're going to let it do its copy thing. And we are now here again where it's asking us to authorize, which is okay because we expect it. Every time we have a new document, we would have to authorize. And it looks like nothing is there. And the reason it looks like nothing is there because there is no data. And that is okay. So this is one of those things I wanted to troubleshoot with you. If I cover over here and highlight, you can see that the element is still there. The chart is still here. There's just no data to fill it in. So in this particular community visualization tool, it looks like it's blank and like there's something wrong. But all it is this data source, the one that we chose, that's technically the Google demo store, doesn't have this data here. So if this is what's going on with you, then that's what you can always talk to us and ask an instructor support. I'll show you where that is real quick. In your ask an instructor support right here, you can let us know that you're working on your Eyes on the Journey, you're using the Get It Done guide, but for whatever reason, your chart is blank. It could be because there's no data coming in at all, and we need to help you troubleshoot that. Or maybe there's just hasn't been enough time, and maybe you need to give it a day or two and let data collect. So there could be some things that we can help you fix, or it could just be wait and see. So definitely let us know if you need help troubleshooting that. All right, so that is what happens if there is no data. So let's go back to when we see data, because that's what most of you are going to have. So what do we do if we want to have it by specific page? Because that's the other most common question that we get. Besides, how do I make it for one particular client? It is, how can I change pages? Because some people, they, obviously they follow what we talked about in customizing Eyes on the Journey for Google Tag Manager, and they've made it work for multiple pages on their client site. or on their own site. And so now they want to be able to see one page versus another page. And how do we do that on this dashboard? There is a couple of different ways you could do that. And the first thing we're going to do is move these guys over a little bit because we're going to make some room for a fourth one. And in this particular workshop that we're doing today, we're not going to talk about how to do certain things in Data Studio because we have lots of other workshops that cover that and courses that you can have access to as Academy members. And then you have us in Ask Instructor support as well. So I'm not going to go through the specifics, but if you have any other questions, just let us know and we can point you in the right direction. So we're going to copy and paste this one just using the Control-C, Control-V. And what we're going to do is we're going to change the word campaign here. This is the field, the control field, where it's saying this is what it's going to be called. So we're going to change this, and I'm going to type in the word page, and we're going to come all the way down till I see only page. And now if I were to go into view mode, I can click here and choose which page it is that I'm looking for. This isn't quite as helpful because the words, our host name is so long, it's kind of getting covered up. So I'm going to go back into edit mode, and I'm going to move some of these guys over just a little bit more, and we are going to make it a little bit longer so we have plenty of room to see. And now we go back into our view mode, and hopefully we be able to see it better, a little bit better. And we can, if you hover as well, it'll pop up. So this right here, this particular one is our Academy offer page. So I can say, only show me this one. So it's going to do its thinking, and as soon as it does, it'll reflect the changes for that, for this particular page. And then we'll be able to see the results for this page and then everything else on the page as well. The next thing that we would be able to do is then decide, okay, well, how is Infusionsoft traffic or Infusionsoft partner traffic doing for this particular page in this particular date range? And we have our forecast, our goals for each one of these steps to help us guide us to know if this particular traffic source is or is not performing the way we expected, so that we can make adjustments. And so we actually already knew about this one. And so our action, because we know all dashboards need to be able to lead to some sort of action, our action with this is to go back to our partners and help them adjust the messaging and kind of figure out what it is that they're saying or not saying that's leading them to this kind of results, because obviously our affiliates and partners don't want this kind of results. They want a better result than this. So we're going to work with them to make sure that we can improve that. And then if we want to kind of reset, this is a newer trick, that this reset button wasn't always this easy. So if we go to click on reset, everything kind of comes back. We are not filtered by the page anymore. We're not filtered by the traffic. We see all of the traffic for all of the pages here. So being able to choose which page is one of the most common questions that we get. So now you have that ability. So what if you only want to choose a few pages? Or you want to exclude pages. So these right here, this /member/, that's part of our membership site. That's kind of locked down for non-members. So we only want to kind of measure those that are not members. So we could add a filter, this thing right here. So if we're in our data tab for this element, we scroll to the bottom, and right now we're looking at only pages that ever have this impression, which is perfectly fine. We want to keep that there. But then we want to go and add a filter, and we're going to create a filter, and we'll choose to exclude when page, because we're thinking through the logic of what we're trying to do here. I don't want to see when the page contains member slash, and this is we're just going to name it. And we'll save, and it's automatically applied, and we'll go into view mode to see if that makes sense, if we need to adjust. And so now we don't see any of those member pages. So now this membership is technically our offer page. That's why we see that there. And again, that's why we have to be really careful with our logic. The different pages, you would choose the or. I believe you can only have like up to 10 statements, or that's the last time I've needed that. So if you can't fit it all into 10, then that's where you might need to get crafty with regex and say it could be this one, and start using like the or bar where it's or this or that. But that's just if you happen to need that. Hopefully you don't need to do that. So that works for there. This also works if you want to only include, like maybe you have a shop dot and you want to include it there, or you want to only evaluate. Let's close this, continue. Maybe you only want to have this particular page for shop dot, and so you have a filter on this one that's for your shop dot. Then you basically duplicate this page we can do that by clicking on here, and then this is the one that we're on, so we can duplicate this page, and then the second page could be something where it's only, maybe it's only blog dot, so everything on the blog, so you're measuring your blog differently, but your dashboard is really similar, and you're just swapping out filters to help your dashboard be nice and clean, and it's not super complicated to build. So now our dashboard is helping us tell the story of what our offer page or whatever pages that we're looking at. So this is our toolbox page for our free membership for those that are on our that are becoming toolbox members. This one's kind of a short page, so this one, and it isn't intended to have an investigated signal or initiated signal, and so that's okay. We only have one main offer page currently right now, so I would not expect any of these other pages to have this investigated signal or initiated signal. Most of our other clients do have simultaneous offers running, and so for our clients this is really helpful, so they're able to kind of choose which offer page they want to see, and then very quickly see how they are performing, and then like what we just did earlier, how they're performing by traffic source, and be able to discern if it's working the way it's expected or not. And that's the story that we're able to understand with our dashboard. And remember, we said earlier, dashboards always have to lead to action. If dashboards don't lead to action, it's basically data dumping. And what that means is you're just putting data on a dashboard for data's sake, and that's not very useful. All right, two more things that we're going to go through. Everything that we have talked about also applies to the second page, which is the comparison page. So you're able to add the filters or adjust, have a page option up here. So if you want to see a very particular page, you can move these guys over and add the page option in here just the same way we did on the first page. And what this one does, it allows you to see over time, especially if you make changes and you want to see how those changes have improved or possibly not improved the user journey on the particular page that you have, you'll be able to see that really easily here. It's super helpful. So that is one thing I just wanted to mention real quick. And then if we go back into our edit mode, something else to point out, if you go to your theme and layout, then go to customize, because this is obviously a customized theme based off our particular colors, you can adjust your color scheme here in this particular chart palette. The way that these community visualizations work is the top color is this one right here, although the first color that we see, then the second, third, fourth, and so on and so forth. So if we were to use a different theme like so, then everything's going to change to that theme and choose whatever colors are in order for that one. So if you are familiar with Data Studio, you know how to do all that. If you are not familiar enough with Data Studio to do that, I will show you where to find that. So we do have some win courses for you that are Measurement Marketing Academy members. If you go to your win courses, dashboards and reporting, there is Win Google Data Studio Basics. That'll definitely get you started. And then when you're ready, you can go to Win Google Data Studio Dashboard Beyond Basics. There are also a lot of workshops in your on-demand workshops, and these are 2 different search keywords to use. You can look up Data Studio, and there are quite a few workshops that'll pop up for you, especially the design tips that we just talked about. And if you're wanting to do conditional formatting to make things red, yellow, green, to identify problem areas for you that you can quickly see if you need to work on something or not, that's highly encouraged for you to be able to do that. Then the other one that you'll want to, the other word you want to look up is dashboard. There's few other workshops that look for dashboards. Do's and don'ts of dashboard design is another great one in terms of what we're talking about today. So all of these other workshops and the courses will definitely help you understand a lot more about Data Studio. So if there's something else that you're wanting to add to your dashboard, you're able to do that. And then of course you have us with Ask an Instructor support, so that if you want to do something that we haven't talked about today, you want to maybe add some more pages or combine it with another report, you technically can copy and paste everything. But if you have any questions about that, just let us know. We are definitely here to help. And so now I'm going to turn it back over to Mercer.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Julie Brade. So give her a little virtual round of applause. Remember, Academy members, you can find Julie in the Ask an Instructor support system. Anything from strategy questions like, what should my Oz in the Journey signals be on this type of page? Just send her a video or a screenshot. Whether it's her or one of the other instructors, we're all back there doing this stuff every day. So they will be able to help you out. And of course, implementation questions. So things like, okay, I'm trying to get this particular trigger on Tag Manager to fire after 45 seconds and 75% scroll. How do I do it? Or here's my setup. It's not working the way I expect it to. Again, send over videos and screenshots to the Ask Instructor support system. We'll be able to help you out. Because obviously Julie herself is a Data Studio rock star and has got a ton of experience with this stuff. So she will be able to help you get unstuck and on the way. Hopefully you got at least one new thing from this. Now remember, the Eyes on the Journey report, if you're new to that concept, or maybe you're not yet an Academy member, like that's the whole concept is you're measuring for the journey that's happening on the page. In other words, the conversation that is happening between the user and the website, but at that specific point in the user's journey. When you understand that conversation, you're more likely to be able to adjust the conversation. That's why we measure, to make sure that that is there. And the Eyes on the Journey report just makes that so much easier. So hopefully you take advantage of that in your own way. And of course, if you are an Academy member, Julie showed you all of the where to get that, the Get It Done guides, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, when it comes to the framework, think about the Eyes on the Journey report. Again, we talked about this. We said, okay, it's going to be touching a little bit of everything. Definitely touches the questions, because I'm thinking this is how it came about. I was asking questions around how are individuals experiencing the offer page for the Measurement Marketing Academy, and are they having the conversation that our copywriters think that they're having with them? How do we measure for that? What behaviors would show interest? What behaviors would show investigating? What behaviors would it show being introduced, right? And so that's where this came from. So then we had those questions, we collected the information using Google Analytics, and then we determined, okay, if it's less than 90%, or let's say 88%, I think it was, for introduced, then we're going to know that it's above the fold issue or there's an expectation mismatch, and we'll do that. And we did that for all the different steps. So we had our plan. Then we made sure the results were being measured. A lot of times these are goals. Sometimes they're just events back there. We make sure that traffic is connected properly, so we can do the tricks that Julie showed you in terms of like, did Infusionsoft partner traffic? Is it different from Facebook traffic? Is it different from Direct None or Google Organic? And so we could tell our story. So we could see kind of what was working and what wasn't. Then as we listen, we start to understand how these really do work, and we can start to forecast. And you saw that there's forecasts on these as to what each individual step should be doing. And then of course we optimize. When we see something that's off for a particular traffic source, we can go in there, we can dig into it, whether it's adjusting the page or the traffic source message. We can make sure that the Eyes on the Journey for that particular user journey, for that particular segment of the users, is the conversation we want to be having with the users. And obviously in that case, more likely to lead to revenue and other results. All right, so next week's topic is a strategy session edition. We actually have a couple of those this month, I believe. So strategy session, we're going to talk first about the future of measurement. I figured it's a good thing to wrap up 2021 with one of these like coming up next in the future, here's what you're going to be using. So that's what we're going to talk about, the different tools that you'll want to start using or at least think about using in 2022. Spoiler alert, Google Analytics 4 will definitely be one of those, but perhaps in a surprising way. So you'll learn more about that on next week's workshop. If you are wanting that, just make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are just shy as of this recording of 3,000. So I would expect within the next 24 hours of this recording, we will be up over 3,000. So I'm going to thank you in advance for all of that. Get some incredibly kind comments, and thank you for those of you that are leaving those. We do see each and every one of them. Not always can we respond, unfortunately, for the support because we are taking care of our members over at the Academy. So we're not always able to dive in as quickly as we would want to on the YouTube side if you happen to be watching it there, but we absolutely appreciate all of the comments and thank you for sharing it and continuing to help. It's our way of giving back to the community, and for those that are helping to spread the word, we just really appreciate it. And especially for those who have subscribed to the channel, be sure you do that, and that'll notify you when the next workshop is available. Now, the other way that you can get this is something we call the Measurement Marketing Toolbox. You heard Julie mention this as well. The toolbox, it has the most recent workshop is always there for free. I'll show you that in just a second, but you also have all these different tools. So Julie talked about the dashboard. There is a dashboard toolkit that's back there that's got copies of our dashboard. Some of those are Eyes on the Journey back there, so you can take some of those. Yes, it doesn't have the get it done guides, but it does have a lot of stuff that you can take advantage of. It's completely free because we understand that not everyone is in a position to pay for measurement training, but we try to give what we can. So measure.tip/WW to get your free toolbox membership. It's just a name and email. We'll send you a login, and then you'll have access to everything back there. There is, of course, the Measurement Marketing Academy. This is the thing we talked about at the very beginning of this. I said, we'll do a tour at the end. So that's what the Academy is. The Academy is built for one particular reason. That is to help you get through this framework over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, because you use it constantly. We go through this framework over and over and over again, thousands of times at this point. So the tour of the Academy, just to kind of show you what it looks like if you haven't taken a look yet. So when you get back there, you basically have access to these 6 blocks that are back there. The win courses, the workshops, and the toolbox are the main content. Support comes through the winner circle, which is kind of members helping members, and then the Ask Instructor support, which, as I mentioned earlier, Julie's mentioned that with, just ask the instructors and they can help you out. That's where the Ask Instructor support is. So I wanted to kind of show you what these look like. So the win courses themselves, these are the traditional courses that you would expect them to be. So they are organized by date. That is because sometimes, like once you get through the courses, you don't necessarily need to go through them again. Let's face it. Sometimes you learn this stuff and you can move on. We do create new courses or updates to existing courses roughly every 4 to 6 weeks on average. That's about what we've maintained over the last couple of years. So we organize by date so that somebody can come in who maybe it's been a couple months since they've seen a course, they can come in and see what's most recently done. So whether they want to get caught up in the latest and greatest ways to use Tag Manager for retargeting, which was just done in October of 2021, or the basics of Google Analytics, which of course now includes Google Analytics 4 in November of 2021. So they can get caught up on the latest and greatest. We also have them organized by topic. So if you're coming in, you want to get started with the setup of Google Analytics, then the basics, then maybe you go into Google Analytics 4 basics. With Tag Manager, we have the basics of Tag Manager, beyond basics of Tag Manager, even JavaScript for Google Tag Manager. There's server side back there, which is kind of the new kid on the block when it comes to Tag Manager stuff. So you see all of those back there. Dashboards and reporting. Again, traditional courses, the basics of Google Data Studio, beyond basics, just how to think about some things in terms of measuring for other things that are beyond kind of what Data Studio can really do well natively, like retention, churn. Like that's a spreadsheet thing. So that's kind of what we teach it back here. So you have all these different ways to learn, and this is not one of those platforms. I want to emphasize this because we get asked this all the time. How many courses and how long would it take me to get there? It'll take you a lifetime to get through all the content because we create content faster than you can consume it. We do that on purpose. That is because it is a just-in-time learning platform. So we will come up with strategy courses like the Win the Measurement Marketing Framework. By the way, if you have not gone through this one first, you absolutely should. I just want to show you also how these are organized so you can kind of see. So they're all traditional courses, right? Lessons organized by topic. So you can come down here. We talk about the different journeys that you go through as a measurement marketer, as you have a cave style setup, a valley style setup, the summit style setup. We cover the foundations of the framework in here so that you can get access to everything that you need. You can, see how it's all sort of penciled out, right? Organized, simple, easy for you to mark complete and keep progress on. You have additional learning materials depending upon the course that are back here as well. But that's the win courses, right? That's just the one section of what the Measurement Marketing Academy is. Remember, the Academy is built as a just-in-time learning platform. It's not something that you're supposed to come in, watch a course, and then you're going to be a master of measurement. Measurement's bigger than just Google Analytics. It's bigger than just Data Studio. It's bigger than Tag Manager. It's a strategy. It's a way of thinking about things. And when you use this exact same tools, but in a different strategy mindset, because now you understand measurement, they light up in a whole different way, and you get a lot more usefulness out of them. And you finally start getting to the point where all you see is story. You don't even see data anymore because you just see story everywhere. And that's kind of the opposite where everybody typically is. They mostly just see data and no story, too much information, right? And that's not the case when you're a measurement marketer. You understand how to do what you're trying to do, and following the framework over and over again through these courses will help you. Now, that said, this is not the only piece of content. The courses are not the only piece. There's also the on-demand workshops. Now, Julie mentioned some of those. Of course, this is the Workshop Wednesday one, so we always have the most recent one back here that anybody can watch. But Academy members have what we call student editions. So we have these that are edited down. Obviously, the Academy tours, things like what you're watching right now, are taken out of these. They've got little zoom effects, and they're a little easier to get through, right? Quite a bit shorter as they go through. And so you can get caught up on all the what's news if you want to. You can get caught up on the getting started topics just to make sure you kind of have your basics down. If you want the beyond basics stuff, things like this, you can go through and say, oh, there's that one that Julie was talking about with Eyes on the Journey and Tag Manager. The strategy sessions, right? How to think about stuff is back here. So you can just get caught up. They're individual workshops, not quite big enough for an entire course, but something that was important to talk about, things like data privacy. So how do we think about that? So again, it's not big enough for an entire course, but it is definitely big enough for a workshop at this point. So we do create workshops. It's also how we make sure that the Academy maintains its position and is always giving you the latest and greatest and staying up to date with useful information that will help you as a measurement marketer, which is our goal. Remember, of course you're going to be learning Google Analytics and Tag Manager and Data Studio because that's necessary. But that's not just what we're about. It's about measurement marketing. It's about building reports that you're actually going to use that will lead to action, as Julie mentioned numerous times. Now, you also have the toolbox. The toolbox itself is resources. Julie mentioned this as well. Remember, the toolbox itself is actually free, but the Get It Done guide section, that is the thing that is unique to Academy members. So they have access to the Eyes on the Journey Get It Done, where you can go in there and pull everything from that. So that's where that is, again, just for Academy members. So just those three sections. You have the Win courses, and there's some 20 some odd courses back there now. On-demand workshops, there's probably 250, maybe 300 workshops at this point. We've done workshops every year for years now. So there's at least that. And then, of course, the toolbox, 50 resources or so. There's a lot of them are proprietary that we've created. So all of that is back there. That's just the content. Then you have the community and the support. So the community is the winner circle itself. I'll show you what that briefly looks like here. So you've got break room and different topics. You can go through here. People ask themselves questions or ask themselves. They ask members questions, and it's a place for members helping members. Even some members will call each other out like, hey, this is for you. Because there's incredible talent. And sometimes we're not the best people to know because we get asked questions around things like, how do you do this in Facebook ads or Google ads or technical SEO questions? And we're not traffic experts. So we don't answer those questions. We say, hey, go to the winner circle community, because there are people back there that do technical SEO for a living, or that do Facebook ads for a living, or data or Google ads, right? Other platforms, and they are better to answer those. Plus, they get measurement because they're part of the Measurement Marketing Academy. So it becomes a higher quality group of people to get answers from because they understand what you're trying to do, right? That's what the winner circle is really, really, really good at. Now, that said, as you might expect, most of the activity happens here with Ask an Instructor support. Looks like this. So when you come in, this is what Julie was mentioned before, and I've talked about the Ask Instructor support. You pop in your question, you put in the details of your answer or your details of the question here, screenshots and videos. Send us kind of like an over-the-shoulder view that's your entire screen, the URL and everything, because sometimes we know to look in the URL for the answer that we're trying to help you solve your problem with. And what happens is the instructors 9 times out of 10 will send you videos and screenshots back. So it's way beyond I lost my password kind of support. Way beyond that. This is more about having a consultant on call, or at least seemingly on call. It's not quite real-time support, but it is answers within hours, not days. Like, that's the idea, that we can help you get unstuck and on the way. And again, this is the difference between watching this stuff on a YouTube channel where you really can't get that level of support, and being an Academy member where we're dedicated to helping you back there. We love people who ask questions. Ask as many questions as you like. That's what it's there for. So that's the Academy in a nutshell. Again, the main content sections are these 3 blocks here: the support with Winner Circle and with Ask Instructor, manage accounts, obviously, where you can change your password and all that fun stuff. So that is the Measurement Marketing Academy in a nutshell. Now, again, the biggest parts, I think the courses, Ask Instructor, the On-Demand, and Winner Circle, all the courses you get access to as an Academy member, including all the updates. So there's nothing that's locked out or locked down. Everything that's there stays there. So, if it's a platform that's active and, being updated, you're going to have access to it. So you don't have to worry about that. At least a $3,490 value. Just if you Google Analytics courses and go look for them and find and purchase them from anybody who's worth their salt teaching Google Analytics, you'll see that each of these courses is worth hundreds by itself, let alone everything that we give back there. So you have access to at least that much in value. The Ask Instructor support, again, the level of support is what's important there. You are literally asking instructors who do this stuff every day. So they understand you, they understand marketing, they understand measurement, right? They're not data analysts, they're not data scientists, and that's not the job. That's not what we're trying to create. If you're a data analyst or data scientist, you might not be happy with the Academy because we more talk about the psychology and moving the marketing needle and making sure that we're improving revenue. And so that's where our focus is. And so we are for marketers, sort of by marketers. It's just that we happen to get measurement, and we can help you get measurement as well in your own organization. Ask an Instructor is a very necessary service to do that. Remember, it's unlimited questions. You can ask as many as you want back there. The on-demand workshop library, kind of consider like supplements, right? That's little teeny topics, helps you keep up to date. You can get caught up on the latest and greatest tools. They change each month if you watch the What's New workshop. Sometimes if there's a brand new change that's massive, with a particular platform, like years ago when Tag Manager changed how they do the preview mode, we created a workshop very, very quickly so we can get that out to our members. And then later we updated the course to include the new preview mode. But it's how we keep things up to date so that you can always stay up to date as well. And then, of course, the Winner Circle community back there, peers helping peers, people who get measurement but have expertise in other areas, and people build networks out of this. You see people actually calling each other out by name back there. It's because they are building a network. There's a true community of incredibly like-minded people, but they all have their super skills. They all have their super talents. So where maybe you can offer your support and your talent to somebody else who needs some help, that's back there, and vice versa. They can help with theirs to you. With that said, if you add up all of the value that's back there, it is at least $8,500 in training support if we had to sell these things piece at a time, which we don't. The reason we don't, again, is because it's a just-in-time learning platform. It's easier to keep everything you will ever need under one roof. So it's there when you need it. So each and every month that you're an Academy member, you have access to over $8,500 in training and support. It is substantially less than $8,500. So consider joining the Measurement Marketing Academy today. Create your membership back there. You can see the current options at measure.tips/getacademy. Again, measure.tips/getacademy. I know it's not for everybody, and if it doesn't fit your budget, totally understand that. Use the YouTube channel. It's why it exists. But if it is something that fits your budget, measurement is something that should be part of every organization. And if measurement is not if it's not a cultural thing in your organization, it should be. And the Measurement Marketing Academy, it can help you to do that. So consider joining the Measurement Marketing Academy today. Again, to learn more about the current offers, just go to measure.tips/getacademy. And we look forward to seeing you in the Measurement Marketing Academy soon. With that, we'll go ahead and break this one down, finish this one up, and wrap it up. This has been Beyond Basics, adjusting your eyes on the journey report in Google Data Studio. Thanks again for watching this workshop, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.